Bruins Beat is brought to you by PrizePicks.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by PrizePicks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, and we're presented by Gametime. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, of course, we are always presented by CLNS Media. So make sure to go subscribe to Bruins Rinkside on YouTube. There's lots of great content, podcasts, Poke the Bear, Pucks with Haggs, Bruins Beat, all throughout the season, all throughout the offseason, analysis, breakdowns, live streams, interviews, all that great stuff. And if you don't like watching us and you're like, I like listening to these guys, but watching's a little much. The orange on Evan's shirt, a little too bright. The yellow on Connor's shirt, a little too bright. But it's what it is. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. There's a number of places. Amazon, I think, has a podcasting platform too. And then Patriots are humming. Patriots Press Pass over on YouTube. Celtics All Access. Their media day was on Monday, so they're going to start getting going. So make sure to go subscribe to those. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. We're recording this on Tuesday, which is rare. We usually do Bruins Beat on Monday, but they played Monday night, so we adjust right before the Red Sox take on the Yankees in game 1. So what a win that was, Connor. When people are listening, what a win. Crochet, 13 strikeouts,
unbelievable
5 home runs.
Dude, like Rob Refsnyder hit one out of Yankee Stadium. It's crazy.
Yeah. Hit one. And Jared Duran hit a home run that went into Monument Park and knocked down all the monuments. The David Ortiz jersey that's buried under Yankee Stadium rose up. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. It
was quite supernatural, I would say. Like I as much as it's great to see the Red Sox do well at Yankee Stadium, I was a little bit perturbed by the mythical aspect of what was going on in that game. I didn't like it, to be honest with you, but I'm happy the Red Sox got the win.
It was crazy. I will say this has been a fun sports week, and I think you and I and the Bruins fans out there, the diehard fans, are probably some of the only ones that feel this way. Because I was looking at the week, I'm like, all right, Sunday, you got Patriots, you got Red Sox, last regular season game of the year. Then you got Monday, Bruins preseason game. Then you got Tuesday through Thursday, Red Sox Yankees. That Bruins preseason game in the middle, right? Like, yeah. That was it's like the clown in the soldier
with the special forces, lined up.
Like, oh yeah, he's one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bruins preseason, they lose to the Flyers 3-2 in a shootout. It was our first look at David Pastrnak. It was our first look at Jeremy Swayman. I want to start with Swayman because he was shaky at the start. Who was it? It was Rodrigo Abels, his goal. Got to have a stop there. I think that's pretty obvious. And then he has the turnover behind the net that leads right to the goal. You want those back. So there's the negative, right? But then the positive was it was pretty good in the third. It was perfect in the third and good in overtime. And all right. And I think, there are a lot of people who saw those 2 goals go in and go, oh my God, here we go again with Jeremy Swayman. Where I would push back on that is I would say that's his first game action since Worlds earlier this in spring/summer. And, this is his first preseason game. And he looked a little more comfortable. Now, can we officially say, Jeremy Swayman Vezina watch is on? Absolutely not. But I do think it's encouraging that as the game went on, he did get a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's just a positive that he's here during camp and in preseason action, right? Like, I'll just take that. And that's kind of what he said.
That's the point.
He's just getting the rust off, getting up to speed. It wasn't perfect. Like, I feel like if you're a Bruins fan, of course you want David Pastrnak to score a hat trick or Jeremy Swayman to have a shutout in their first preseason action. Again, this is a time for them to, shake the rust off, get up to speed. Some good and some bad, I think, not just for Swayman, for just the team in general, right? There's some positives I'm sure we'll talk about and some negatives as well. And so I think for Swayman, you'd like to see a little bit of a cleaner puck play on that sequence that leads to the goal from Noah Cates, I believe. And then, just got beat clean on that goal right at the end of the second period. Not great. Kind of a little bit like Korpisalo's game against the Rangers where the start was pretty shaky. And again, granted, I think Korpisalo gave up a couple more goals, but also the defense in front of him, I think, was far worse in that game at Madison Square Garden. So you liked a little bit more from Swayman early on, but then tightened up as the game went on. I think he made the final 13 saves of the game between third period and overtime. So, to borrow a familiar phrase from Bruce Cassidy, timely saves. I think as much as you want a few more stops early on, he gave you the saves needed to kind of stay in that game. So wasn't perfect. I'm not going to get swept up one way or the other in terms of just how Swayman fared in that game. I think we're all stating the obvious of how important he's going to be for this team this year. If this team is going to surprise and exceed expectations. But I think for his first, look during the preseason, I think it's good he's just out there and getting up to speed. And we'll see if maybe he draws into another game before the regular season starts.
I would like to see him in one of the two this week, Caps and then the Rangers. I just think it helps. I'm not a goalie expert. I just think it helps, especially coming off of the season he had last year, coming off of the preseason he didn't have last year. I think it'd be good to get him in one of the two coming games this week, just to get him more acclimated to game action and that stuff. I think it just hits it, and this is something we've talked about a lot this summer, is just how big a season this is for him. You need him to be better. I don't think that's it's stating the obvious. It just comes down to how much better is he. I think we can all, I don't know if we can all agree, but I would hope that last year's the bottom. Last year is rock bottom.
I think a lot of people are hoping for that.
Only up from here. Yes. I think most people are hoping for that. And I know some people are like, trade him, he stinks. And some people are in the other camp of, he's going to be better. I think he's going to be better. I do. I don't think last year was the norm for him. I just think getting him as much action in the preseason puts him in a better spot come opening night when you do face a Capitals team coming off a great season last year. And that's a week from tonight, right? From Tuesday? Or no, Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Over a week. It's over a week away. I can't. Well, if this comes out Wednesday, then it's
That's
a week
true.
from now. Exactly. Yeah.
We're almost there, everyone.
We're so close.
Red Sox are already up in this series. We're a week away from hockey. It's great. Everyone rejoice.
This is an incredible time. But it's a huge season for him. And he knows there's pressure on him. And I just think, again, I don't think it's make or break. Because, if he was awful, who's taking on that contract? Who is, what are you getting for him? But I just think, if he's better, if he is closer to number 9, number 10 goalie in the NHL, you're a much better team. You're a much better team.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think the Bruins need him to step up and be that type of player. This team, not just this year, right? Because we've already mapped out what this team needs to do to be competitive. And yeah, to your point, no crap. It's Jeremy Swayman finding his game, defense tightening up, power play, all the stuff we've talked about on numerous episodes already. But beyond that, it's just how does this team get back to being a sustainable contending team once, guys like James Hagens arrive and other guys the Bruins add to their pipeline, or, with all this draft capital they have, maybe they trade some of it. We could look at this team next year, and regardless of how this season goes, you could have James Hagens in your lineup. You could have Marty Necas you brought in, maybe, right? You're able to bring in a player in free agency.
No Kaprizov.
Yeah. Nope. Or, they flip some of these assets for a Rasmus Anderson, right? The Bruins, I think we've mentioned before, as much as, some people maybe want them to do the slow and steady approach, they've got the guys in their prime, plus maybe the assets now to kind of be a little bit more aggressive if they feel like they're on the right track. So that plan, that vision only becomes, tangible if Jeremy Swayman bounces back and is the franchise goalie you expected him and you're paying him to be. So, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest question mark. And it's the most critical thing for this team. Maybe not the biggest question mark, because I think we were in the same boat, Evan, where I think we expect him to bounce back. Now, how big is that bounce back? As you said, is he a Vezina guy? Is he just getting back to a 914 save percentage in a flawed team, right? You'll take whatever that's better than whatever it was, 893. But what he needs to do is just show signs that he's still a guy that you can build around. And is going to be part of the solution for when this team does get back to being what you hope is a sustainable, every year contending club.
It's funny because when I think of the Bruins core, the core guys, the guys that's you're building around for the future. It's Pastrnak, it's McAvoy, and you add Swayman in there. And I think he worked his way into that at the end of the year before last. And with his contract that he signed last year, it was all right, he's part of that core three, the pillars of this team. And, I think if he does have a bad year this year, and I don't think he will, but if he did, if you lose him from being one of those pillars, you're a different team. You're in a much different spot where, like you mentioned, being really aggressive, right? If Swayman is fantastic and the guy that you think and that a lot of us think he can be, it's like, all right, you can push the chips to the middle of the table. You can trade a first round pick in the future. You can trade some of your prospects. You can go out and sign a big guy. But if he isn't that guy, if he's not that guy, you have to reassess everything. And guys like Pastrnak and McAvoy, it's like, all right, well, what are their futures here? Because like after Swayman and net, you don't have a lot. Like, it's not like you have a high-end goalie prospect coming down the pipeline that you're like, oh, that guy's going to take over in a year or two. Like, you don't have that. So this has to work. This absolutely has to work. And I think it's the one last thing where it's like he's done a lot at the NHL level, but you need to see that full season. You need to see that good full season, relatively consistent. And, again, I think that there are a lot of expectations with him, but I also think with this team, they could be anything. And it's not like they have to win a cup. So there's not crazy amounts of pressure on him, but I just wonder what he'll be this year. To me, that's one of the most fascinating storylines surrounding this team is like, what is that bounce back this season? And again, only time will tell as things go along. But first, before we get into David Pastrnak, who also played in his first game on Monday night, our friends over at PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. I was cooking this weekend, Connor. On Sunday,
What'd you make?
I've been cooking a lot of stuff too, for real, and I'll get into that later. But for pick flex play, I had James Cook more than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns.
He's cooking too.
He was cooking. Jalen Hurts more than 0.5 passing touchdowns. Baker Mayfield more than 0.5 passing touchdowns. And Amon-Ra St. Brown more than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. And I hit. And that was fantastic. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks put their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Yeah, I've been cooking with this. Like every Sunday, football Sundays, man, it makes the day more fun. And I can tell you this, if it's already happened when you're listening to this, I had a PrizePicks for Tuesday for game 1 of that Red Sox-Yankees series. Hopefully it's right. We'll see what is happening, but hopefully it ends up, I end up being a winner, because usually that's what you are over on PrizePicks. David Pastrnak. It was his first game. Gets an assist on Sean Corrali's goal. Again, Pastrnak, elite setup man. I don't think that's anything that's new. I'm always curious, like if you did put like a Sean Corrali with Pastrnak, what would Corrali's points be? Like, let's play this game, right? If Corrali is Pastrnak center, let's just for shits and giggles, right? Sean Corrali's Pastrnak center. Is Corrali at 40 points? 50? Like, am I insane? Like, I don't know. I think he's racking up some points.
I think it's just by association, right? Like, I think you put any single player with David Pastrnak, you're going to see an insane uptick, right? And I'm not to say that, like, Morgan Geekie's entire spike was just off of Pastrnak, but it plays a pretty big factor into it, right? So, and again, I think beyond Pastrnak, you saw, I think that top line of Geekie, Lindholm, and Pastrnak is going to be just fine this year. I think Lindholm's actually looked pretty comfortable, made some pretty solid plays down both ends of the ice, sets up Geekie's goal. I think Geekie's been really impressive in limited preseason action, shot ready, physical. Even David Pastrnak was looking like a power forward out there. He was laying some pretty heavy hits, which, again, a guy who missed the first couple of days of training camp with knee tendonitis and a preseason game, guy who's already pretty established star, like, all right, this is going to be being on cruise control, was making his presence felt out there. So I don't think the Bruins are hoping that David Pastrnak is their hammer out there on the ice, but I think you look at this forward group and how many question marks there are. I don't have that many right now with that top line. I think they're going to be productive. Not saying that we got another 30-goal season from Geekie or a 75-point season from Lindholm, but I don't think you have to worry about that group. It's lines 2 and 3 that you're still looking at them like, how much time we got left for the preseason?
That's right. I will also say, I think what's really been encouraging with Morgan Geekie, so he has 2 goals in 2 games. he scores against Philly on Monday night, and goalie should have had it, but still went in. And it was the same
Bruins
type of thing.
legend Dan Vladar.
That's right. It was Dan Vladar. I forgot he was in net. He was pissed they let that in. He pretty much got it with his glove. And then he scored in the first preseason game too. And that shot just went right in from the high slot. I think what's encouraging is those are at least through the preseason games. And again, hard to take a lot away from them, but that's what we have to go off of. I think it's encouraging those are going in for Morgan Geekie. They went in last year, one-timers, shots from the outside. He clearly has a really sneaky, good, quick release. I think it's good those are continuing to go in. Does that mean he's going to have 30 goals this year? No, it doesn't. But it means that scoring touch is still there, that last year wasn't a complete fluke, and that, I think it's a safer bet that he is somewhere over the 20-goal mark, which is exactly what you need him to be at if you want to be in relative contention this year.
Yeah, you're going to have to rely on him to at least be, I think, a 20-goal guy, right? And again, I think you look at just his shooting percentage and how maxed out it was last year. I think you're expecting some regression, but also he did a lot of his damage on, without relying on the power play, right? I think he was third in the entire NHL in 5-on-5 goals. It was like he was tied with Pastrnak, and then it was like Tage Thompson, maybe one more guy in front of him. Like it was impressive, like just how effective he was there. So yeah, you can expect some dip in terms of the shooting percentage and how unsustainable it is. But as the Bruins try to get their power play again functioning to a normal pedestrian level, you can also, I think, expect him to be more productive there, especially if, he's the other kind of trigger man on that top power play unit, as a lot of focus is put on David Pastrnak. I think you can expect some more power play production there from Geekie. So, yeah, it's, I think, encouraging that he looks like the same player you saw last year when he was really elevating his game. But the Bruins kind of need that from that guy. You're looking at a team that, as I said, that second and third line just feels like there's so much still in flux that, especially early on, as the Bruins try to find their footing, right? Like even with their power play, I don't think it's going to be a finished product, or there's going to be a lot of growing pains early on as they try to kind of get into a groove here. You're probably going to have to lean a whole lot on that Geekie, Lindholm, Pastrnak line to keep you afloat in the early going here as they try to find where else they're going to get steady offense from. And again, it's the preseason. We'll see how it translates to the regular season. But I think Geekie's looked like the same player we saw last year, which honestly, for the last 2-3 months of the year, was like a top 30 wing, top 25 wing in the league. Like in terms of offense, he was right there, man. Like he was really productive down the stretch.
It's insane to think of where he was. He was getting scratched. Like he was in the doghouse. It was like, man.
Jim Montgomery was just like, someone asked him, I think after he got scratched, or it was a game maybe he drew back into the lineup where someone asked, what does he have to do to get his minutes back up? Because I think he played 10 minutes in a game. And Montgomery was like, play better. That was it. I was like, is this guy going to get sent to Providence? Is he going to get waived? What's going on here? So again, sorry to cut you off, but
no,
but
the
strides he's made.
It's crazy. And to think of where he ended last season. I mean, you think about last year, there's a lot of negatives. There was not much to take away. He was one of the only guys that was like, yeah, man, you exceeded at your job. You exceeded your expectations. If they had a end of season job report, he would be an A+. He was outstanding. And I think to see where he came from to where he ended up was impressive as hell. I also think the power play is interesting. So the power play struggled on Monday night against the Flyers. You had that full number one unit. You had Pastrnak, you had Geekie, you had Lindholm, you had McAvoy, and you had Pavel Zacha. I will say, and you have Steve Spott running it. I am encouraged, not saying that they're going to be fantastic. I am partially encouraged that Pastrnak is moving around more like he did towards the end of last year, where he's not just stationary. And you have other threats, right? You have Elias Lindholm in the bumper who can tee up a one-timer or who can draw a defender to him to hit a pass to an open teammate on the outside. Morgan Geekie can also rotate into Pasternak's one-timer spot. Morgan Geekie might be the most underrated part of that power play, as we were just talking about with his shot. You have McAvoy at the point. You have Pastrnak who does his thing. You also have Zacha, who is the only lefty on that power play unit and is sort of down by the net, has a lot of options, can hopefully open some things up. I'm very curious, who is the guy in that first unit that is breaking through the most, that is doing the most damage? Because I think a lot of people think, it's David Pastrnak, and maybe it will be. But I think there are some other intriguing options there. Geekie, Zaka, Lindholm, who might end up being just as or more important.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I agree that it's good to see Pastrnak moving around there. I think, especially where so many guys are clearly going to be keyed in on David Pastrnak, you have to find other ways to make that unit more unpredictable for the opposing PK. So if it means him, operating up high, switching with someone, even like during the Bruins heyday on that power play when you had obviously Krug and Bergeron and those guys, established playmakers. But what made them so effective is that, a lot of times the end result was like David Pastrnak, firing and from the left circle. But a lot of the sequence leading up to that was like PK, penalty killers getting moved around, stretched out because you had like Krug operating from up high to the half wall. You had him switching spots with Brad Marchand. You had to account for Patrice Bergeron in the middle. Like there were so many ways that group could burn you that sooner or later it was going to give way to like the seam pass was going to be there for David Pastrnak. Like I don't know how often it's going to be the case now where so many teams are going to be game planning around Pastrnak, but by him moving around, maybe that opens a one-timer for a Geekie. Maybe that opens more space for Elias Lindholm in the bumper. So I do think that you're seeing at least like the Bruins and Steve Spott are doing what they can to change things up, to add more unpredictability to that unit. It's all about kind of just getting it all into a groove there, right? I think you still want to see a little bit more puck movement up high. You want to see, I think, a little bit more puck recovery down low, like whether it's Zaka or someone else. So still a work in progress, but I think you're seeing, some positives there. I also think like the entries have been a lot cleaner. Even though they didn't cash in on Monday, I thought like they had a lot more time, like actually in the offensive zone. Pretty like obvious that that's an important part of a power play, but that was one of the things that killed them last year is they would have kind of a one and done or really limited look there. And then half the time they're either recovering the puck or being, jammed up in the neutral zone or anything like that. So again, you like to see some production there. You want to see some tangible results, but you're at least seeing the process at play, I think, with Steve Spott running things. And if you're just trying to find the silver linings, I think that's when you can kind of hop on from what you saw on Monday.
Yeah, it was infuriating last year when it was a stationary power play.
Yeah.
Nobody was moving, and it was like feed Pastrnak, like just feed him. And you're doing one-timers from the half wall, and it's like this is not working. And I think it was a good change. I mean, they didn't get much better, but you saw Pastrnak moving around a little bit more on the power play. And I think you need more mobility from all five guys on that unit that I think you didn't see last year. Because as you said, that's like a good power play opens up passing lanes, and like PKs are good in this league. Like they're not that, they're not going to be easily duped. Like, oh, Pasternak's wide open on the side. Just let him be. You need to open up passing lanes, and that comes from being mobile and going into new positions in the offensive zone. Speaking of new positions, a position you always want to be in are being with our friends over at Gametime, because they're back, and they couldn't have come back at a better time. Football season is back, and it's one of the most fun times of the year. Tailgates, hyped up crowds, and incredible finishes. The downside, though, can often be the process of getting tickets, queues, annoying login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. The Gametime app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use. And the Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So what you see is what you pay. This weekend, you want to see the Bruins before the regular season starts? They host the New York Rangers in preseason action. You can get in for as low as $40. Take the guesswork out of buying football or any sport tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. Connor, you worried at all about Casey Mittelstadt? Saw that Twitter was a little up in arms at the turnovers in OT.
That was pretty bad. That was pretty wild. That was not.
Dude was in his own world.
That's not what you want to see on the on overtime. So
no, it was not. It was not at all. There is part of me though, like I hate turnovers. I do, and I'm not excusing those. Those are bad, especially those. That was lackadaisical. That was not like always trying to create. Like that was lackadaisical. But I do think you're going to see this from a guy like him. This is part of his game. I think it's not similar. It's similar-ish. Mason Lowry. Right? Like Mason Lowry is going to get you off, is going to get you points. but there are also times where there are defensive miscues, or he throws his stick at someone that's broken, or like just little, a puck goes in the net that you're like, man, what was he thinking there? Where it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And with Lohrei, I think it is long term. I like how he projects, all those different things. Mittelstadt, I think there was a legit question of like the way his game is, being a playmaker, being a guy that has a relatively high offensive ceiling, at least for this lineup. You're going to get turnovers. You're going to get those kinds of things. And I just wonder, what is their leash with that? Like, that's not them. That has never been them. So I'm very curious how they handle him.
Yeah, and just how much, patience they have and how much they're willing to endure the growing pains for. I mean, even when the Bruins made that trade, right, involving Charlie Coyle, they mentioned that Mittelstadt, one of the reasons why they wanted to add him was that he was a different skill set from what they usually have, right? And this is a team that obviously all last year struggled to score. And so you see the tools and what Mittelstadt could add to a group, right? But is this team going to be patient enough to deal with, the ups and downs, right? Like you saw that game, the preseason game a few days ago against the Rangers where he had, 2 assists and was really impactful. But then you have this game where you don't make much of a dent, whether it's like the cohesion with his line mates or just like the puck play, right? And as you're the Bruins and you're just desperately trying to find some consistent, avenues for offense in that middle six group, it's kind of, I don't know if concerning is the right word, but it's just, you feel like you're stuck in neutral, right? The Bruins have 2 more preseason games to go. But if you ask me right now, like what's the best middle six grouping? I'd be like, yes, because I don't know. I don't know how exactly it works out, right? Because, Mittelstadt's been up and down. Zacha, he's going to be in the mix there, but is he better at center? Is he, he had 5 missed shots on Monday against the Flyers? Not great. Is it, where the young guys factor into it? Like Marco Sturm said that, they're still not, completely cohesive, that those younger players, right? Like Minton, Potter on the wing, which I don't know how that best serves him. Blumel's been up and down. I think he makes the team, but still, like you want to see him maybe stack some progress. And this one was kind of meh, I think.
I wonder about his IQ and his skating. I wonder with Blumel, like great shot, clearly has a goal scoring knack, but like, what's the trade-off? I wonder.
Yeah.
With him.
So like you have that, you have Victor Arvidsson, who I actually have not been too impressed with in the early going. He had 0 shots on goal, was knocked off the puck a couple of times on Monday. So that's a guy that you're kind of banking on to maybe not be the 30-goal guy he was with Nashville, but be a 20-goal, 45-point guy, ideally in a top 6 spot. You haven't seen a lot of at least encouraging signs. Again, it's the preseason, but it does feel like as much as like the Bruins going into camp and preseason had so many possible options, has anyone put themselves in a spot where you're like, all right, this is the structure we have in the middle 6. These are out of the 6 spots. These are 2 guys that we're going to we can put in trenches, like the foundational pieces of this group, and we're comfortable with. It feels like it's still that entire segment of the roster, this critical part of this group, feels like it's still in a state of flux right now.
You haven't seen anybody separate from the pack.
Yeah.
That's what's worrisome. And again, we're 2 weeks into camp. There's still a week towards the regular season. You have 2 more preseason games. I do think there's a real shot that you go into this year and the first 10 games, are we sitting here at the end of October and we're like, what's the middle 6? Like their production's low. The lines are getting jumbled around. No one's really sticking. Because again, Connor, we know this. We've seen this 1,000 times with coaches. Like go into the season, a line doesn't work one night, you switch it around. Like how many different versions of the middle 6 are we going to see in the first bunch of weeks of the season? I wonder, because there are so many unproven guys in there, or they're, veterans like Arvidsson or Zacha, where you just, is Arvidsson a second liner? Is Zacha a winger or a center? I think it's going to take time. I think that's a complete work in progress. And I don't think we're going to know by the end of the preseason, which is only a week away. Now, again, that's better than the question you had last year, which was like, who's your starting goalie going into the season? But that's still a huge chunk of your lineup. I mean, those are penalty killers. Those are, second unit power play guys. Those are secondary scorers that there are legit questions about, because you just don't. And I'm not blaming Sturm for it. I'm not, because there's not much you can do there. So I'm just very curious how that sort of all comes together. Quick reminder, make sure to go subscribe to Bruins Rinkside on YouTube. We always have stuff, podcasts, videos, analysis, live streams, all that great stuff over there. I want to hit 10K subs soon. I think we're at like 9.91. And Connor, you and I have been with the channel since the very beginning, since 0 subscribers. So hitting 10K would be pretty sick. 10K, we'll have to do something special. I don't know what we'll do. Give us recommendations. What should we do for 10K?
Live show at Canopy Lake Park, baby.
That's right. Or live show at the Kowloon now that I can eat nuts. Now that allergy is gone. Maybe we'll do the live show at the Kowloon.
It's a new day.
New Evan. So maybe that. And make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify if you don't like watching us. Or if you driving, so don't watch us. Just listen.
Please don't do that. Don't do it.
We don't endorse that. And then
you're flying down Route 1. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Please don't watch us and drive. Just listen. That's what we like.
It's already scary enough driving down Route 1. I don't want people staring at my ugly mug while they're trying to merge from the Kowloon.
Sorry, officer.
Don't do that. Yeah.
I was watching Bruins Beat on my phone. Officer, say that's okay. Keep driving. You're good.
Yeah,
it's
good. Like, oh no, you have to tell the officer to subscribe to the channel. So.
That's right. Please do. Please tell the officer to subscribe to the channel. And then Patriots Press Pass, Celtics All Access on YouTube as well. Little change of pace here. Sportsnet came out with a 23 under 23 ranking, and they had James Hagens at 12. They had a bunch of guys ahead of them. I have to scroll up my phone here. They had Schaefer at 1. They had Caleb Desnoyers at 2. Berkeley Catton at 3 with the Kraken. Michael Misa at 4. Axel Sandin Palika with the Red Wings at 5. Ike Howard at 6, which is pretty wild. Anton Frindell at 7. Sam Dickinson with the Sharks at 8. Beckett Seneca with the Ducks at 9. Danilia Yurov with the Wild at 10. Porter Martone at 11. And then Hagens at 12. Feels a little low. They're a Canadian outlet, so I'm assuming, I'm not saying they have a bias towards Americans.
Those American boys.
I hate Americans. No, I don't think it's that. I think they might have a different perspective on college hockey, which is fine. Again, BC starts this Friday against Quinnipiac. That's a pretty big one. You'll be there. I don't think I will be, but I'll be watching for sure. I think a lot of people should be watching because every Bruins prospect,
50 Bruins prospects in that game. Yeah,
everybody. It's a big year for Hagens. This is a big year. I think you need to see that second step taken. 1.5 per game. Dare I say 2 points a game during the season? Another college hockey thought I have is I'm very curious with Roger McQueen at Providence. So obviously McQueen was a guy you and I talked about a zillion times earlier this year. And I wonder, so he's a freshman. Providence is not always a high scoring school. They win a lot, but they're not high scoring. If he's a point per game guy in college or a little bit less than, do you look at the Hagens pick and go, oh my God, people completely underestimated Hagens' his freshman year, being a point per game guy. They looked down on it too much. Or if McQueen comes in and lights the world on fire and is well over a point per game, 1.5, 2 points a game, do you look at Hagens' draft any differently and say, man, maybe he was picked a little bit too high?
Yeah, be curious to see because apparently all reports are that McQueen looks awesome at Providence right now. And I think there was always an upside with him. It's just that back injury justifiably scares a lot of teams as far as how that's going to limit a guy that obviously is 6'4", 6'5", however big Roger McQueen is. But it's going to be a fun year for Hockey East in terms of just how much talent there. You got the Terriers number 2 in the nation. It's great. I know everyone's already, no one cares about Western Michigan. Everyone wants Gavin McKenna. I think he's going to be on CNN. I think they're broadcasting the game on CNN, C-SPAN, everything for Penn State.
C-SPAN.
Everyone's ready. Yeah, everyone's ready to crown that school with all their NIL money, the best team in college hockey. We'll see. I hate Penn State. I hate all the goober-ass Penn State people that crowd my Southie bars with his shitty white shirts. I hate Penn State, so see how the season goes. I'm excited college hockey's back. I'm excited to root against someone that's not BC, because I would take BC winning 5 championships for Penn State and that goon-ass school wins anything. So,
wow.
A rant, but I hate Penn State.
That's big. I know you hate Penn State, and Penn State people can be wonky, but I do. It's interesting that you would take 5 BC championships over Penn State winning, which Penn State hockey, again, it's relatively new. So I don't see them, even with McKenna, I don't see them winning a national championship. You've got to be on the cusp for a while.
Not if you ask the streets, Evan.
I know.
We'll see.
It's just because they have one guy. One guy. And they have other players too. But yeah, I'm curious. My Minutemen, I'm excited. They should be pretty good. We'll see.
Yeah.
Interesting thing though, BU. I know I believe he left BU, but Tom Willander was 14 on this ranking, which I find kind of high. Like I like Willander, but I feel like he's just kind of a
steady Eddie.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like ranking 14 on a list of 2,323, I don't know. It seems kind of high. No hate towards BU.
Where's he playing this year? What teams he drafted by?
The Canucks.
Wow. Okay, he's that high. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. Crazy how that works. Connor, what can the people look forward to from you other than some Penn State hate over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can read my stuff over at the Globe and Boston.com. I believe you covered every step of the way this Bruins season, from the final days of training camp and the preseason going into the regular season. So please read my stuff over there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. How sweet was that whiteout loss on Saturday?
Oh, dude, I was dying laughing. I will always be there for Penn State to implode. Couldn't happen to a better school. So
that's right. Yes, very storied football program.
Yes.
That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your week.